Have you ever seen a cop lose a power trip to pure physics? I'm a paramedic, and a few months ago my partner and I were heading back from a routine patient transfer. We were only a few blocks from base when I spotted a woman sitting alone on the curb at an intersection, arms wrapped around herself, head down, completely withdrawn. It was clear something wasn't right. I nudged my partner, he flipped on our lights, and we pulled over. The moment the woman saw the ambulance, her head shot up and her expression changed from fear to relief. When I approached her, she loosened her arms but still hesitated to move. Up close, I could see marks on her wrists and other familiar signs that suggested she hadn't been treated well. Anyone in EMS can read these things almost instantly. She didn't seem ready to stand, so instead of rushing her, I walked to the back of the ambulance to pull out our striker-powered cot. These cots are bright yellow, weigh about 125 pounds, and run on an automated loading track. There's a little red release tab inside the back doors. Push it down, and the cot and loading carriage slide out under their own weight until they hit the next locking point. Normally, you keep a firm grip on the cot because once it's released, gravity does most of the work. The problem? We had stopped on a slight uphill incline. I pressed the release tab, and right as the cot began to push backward, bright lights and sirens flared behind me. A city police cruiser pulled up fast. We hadn't called for police. Actually, we weren't even inside the city limits. This area belonged to the sheriff's department. Before I could figure out why a city cop was showing up, the woman suddenly whispered, "Oh no, he's here," and bolted. She moved faster than I thought she could, darted past me, and threw herself into the back of the ambulance. She curled up on the bench seat, shaking. I closed the doors immediately. Seconds later, the officer was storming up to me. "Let's call him Officer Steve." "Is she in there?" he demanded. "Who?" I asked. "You know exactly who I'm talking about." "You mean my patient?" "Haven't gotten her name yet." "Open the doors. I need to talk to her." I shook my head. "My ambulance isn't an interview room. You can speak to her at the hospital." He got angrier, insisting I step aside. I continued with calm, standard protocol. If he wanted access, it would happen at the hospital, not on the street. Meanwhile, my partner quietly returned to the cab, heard enough to understand what was happening, and called our chief. I kept repeating the same answer while the officer grew more impatient. The woman inside was clearly frightened of him, which meant my priority was her safety, not his ego. A few minutes later, 2 deputies arrived. They had jurisdiction here, and based on the timing, I'd bet our chief specifically requested them. Their presence clearly irritated the city officer, who seemed determined to show he was still in control. He stepped right up to me and said, "Move, or I'll charge you with obstruction." I stepped aside. He yanked open the rear doors. This is where the laws of physics entered the chat. Because I had released the cot earlier and never resecured it, everything that had been leaning on those closed doors was now free to move. The cot, the monitor, and our jump bag, together about 160 pounds, rolled forward instantly. The officer had absolutely no idea it was coming. The moment he pulled the doors open, the entire load surged toward him. He stumbled backward and ended up on the ground. One deputy burst into laughter right there. The other walked up, crouched beside the officer, and said, "Loud enough for all of us to hear, your shift captain is on the way. If I were you, I wouldn't still be here when he gets here." The officer gathered himself, glaring like I'd personally orchestrated the whole thing, then stomped off to his cruiser. He left without another word. We transported the woman to the hospital, where she was met by staff and given space to speak away from him. Thankfully, she's since relocated to a safer place. As for the officer, there isn't much I can say because the related case is still ongoing. What I can say is that charges against officers don't always go far. And ever since that day, I've been pulled over more times than I have in my entire life before this incident. Never ticketed, never warned for anything, just routine checks, always the same department. But there is one thing that everyone in my service enjoys, the dashcam footage. The moment the officer threw open those doors and gravity rolled 160 pounds of EMS equipment straight into him has become one of the most replayed clips in our break room. It's not often physics delivers such perfect timing, and every time someone watches it, the room lights up with laughter.